Say it. His voice was low, dangerous, barely above a whisper. Park Jae-won pressed her against the cold marble wall of his penthouse, one hand beside her head, the other tilting her chin up to meet his gaze. Adi's heart pounded against her ribs. She could feel the heat radiating from his body, smell the expensive cologne mixed with something darker, something that whispered of power and violence. "I don't take orders," she breathed. His jaw tightened. A flicker of something crossed his eyes. Frustration. Hunger. Respect. "Everyone takes my orders." He leaned closer, his lips brushing against her ear. Presidents. Politicians. Men who could buy countries. They all bow. They all obey. I'm not them. No. His thumb traced her bottom lip, and she hated the way her breath hitched. You're not. Then let me go. I can't. Can't or won't. His forehead dropped to hers, and for a moment, the monster disappeared. What remained was just a man, torn apart by something he couldn't name. Both, he admitted. I won't stop, Ada. Not until you see what I see. Not until you feel what I feel. Not until you scream my name, not in fear, but because you want to. Because you need to. And if I never do? His eyes found hers, and what she saw there stole her breath. Desperation. Loneliness. Love. Then I'll spend forever trying. 3 months earlier, Adi's Okonkwo had never heard the name Park Jae-won. 3 months earlier, she was just a girl washing dishes in a Korean barbecue restaurant, trying to survive. 3 months earlier, a bullet shattered the window 3 inches from her head. And everything changed. If you're already hooked and want to know how a dishwasher from Lagos ended up pinned against a wall by Korea's most dangerous man, hit that subscribe button right now and tap the like button because this story is about to take you on a ride you won't forget. Trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next. The bullet shattered the window 3 inches from Adi's head. She dropped to the floor of the restaurant kitchen, her heart pounding so hard she could taste copper in her mouth. 15 minutes ago, she was a graduate student washing dishes to pay her sole rent. Now she was crawling through broken glass while men in black suits killed each other in the dining room. Another shot. A body hit the ground. Ada pressed her back against the industrial refrigerator, her breath coming in short gasps. She had survived growing up in Lagos. She had survived her father's death. She had survived her uncle selling her to pay his debts. She refused to die in a Korean barbecue restaurant at 23 years old. The kitchen door swung open. She grabbed the nearest weapon, a heavy iron skillet, and swung with everything she had. The man caught it midair. His grip was iron. His eyes were darker than anything she had ever seen, cold and calculating, scanning her face with an intensity that made her stomach flip. Blood splattered across his white dress shirt. A fresh cut ran along his sharp jawline. He was terrifyingly beautiful, the kind of beautiful that belonged on magazine covers and in nightmares. You have fire, he said in perfect English, a hint of amusement flickering across his stone-cold expression. I almost didn't see you. Let go of me. Ada yanked at the skillet. He didn't release it. Instead, he tilted his head, studying her like she was a puzzle he couldn't quite solve. You're the new dishwasher. The African girl. His jaw tightened. How much did you see? Everything. She had seen everything. The men bursting through the doors. The owner, Mr. Kim, getting shot in the chest. The way this man had moved through the chaos like death itself, precise and merciless. Nothing. Her voice didn't shake. She wouldn't let it. I saw nothing. I was hiding. He smiled, and it didn't reach his eyes. You're lying. The skillet clattered to the floor. In one fluid motion, he had her wrist in his grip, pulling her toward the back exit. Ada stumbled, her worn sneakers slipping on the tile. Where are you taking me? Let go. I said I didn't see anything. You saw me kill 4 men. He pushed through the door into the alley where a black Mercedes waited, engine running. That makes you a witness. Witnesses talk. Witnesses testify. Witnesses, he opened the car door and looked at her with those midnight eyes, become problems. I'm not a problem. I'm a dishwasher. I just want to go home. Get in the car or I'll put you in the car. Your choice. Ada's mind raced. Run? He would catch her. Fight? He had just killed 4 men without breaking a sweat. Scream? The alley was empty, and she already knew no one in this neighborhood asked questions about men in expensive suits. She got in the car. If you're already hooked and want to know what happens to Ada, hit that subscribe button right now and tap the like button because this story is about to take turns you won't see coming. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's next. The Mercedes pulled away from the curb, and Ada pressed herself against the door, as far from the man as the back seat allowed. He was on his phone, speaking rapid Korean that she couldn't follow. The only words she caught were clean up and no traces. When he hung up, his attention returned to her. What's your name? She pressed her lips together. I can find out. I can find out everything about you. Your student visa. Your apartment in Itaewon. Your phone calls to Nigeria every Sunday night. Your mother's medical bills. He paused, watching her reaction. Adiz Okonkwo. 23. Graduate student in international business. Working 3 jobs to survive. No close friends here. No boyfriend. No one who would come looking if you disappeared. Ada's blood ran cold. How do you know all that? I know everything about everyone in my territory. You've been in my restaurant for 2 months. Did you think I didn't notice the new face? Your restaurant? Mr. Kim owns that restaurant. Mr. Kim managed that restaurant. For me. He leaned back, his jaw tight. Those men who killed him were sending a message. To me. Then this has nothing to do with me. Let me go. I'll forget everything. I'll leave Seoul tonight. I'll go back to Nigeria and never speak of this again. You can't go back to Nigeria. He said it so simply, so matter-of-factly, that it took a moment for the words to register. Excuse me, your uncle. Chukwu Okonkwo. He's the reason you left, isn't he? He borrowed money from the wrong people. Used you as collateral. You ran before they could collect. Ada's heart stopped. She had never told anyone. Not her roommate. Not her professors. Not even her mother, who thought Ada was in soul-chasing dreams and opportunity. The shame of it, the humiliation of being sold by her own blood like property, was a secret she had buried so deep she almost forgot it herself. How, she whispered. How could you possibly know that? The man's expression didn't change. The people your uncle owes money to? They're associates of mine. International partners. They've been looking for you for 8 months. The car felt smaller. The air felt thinner. Are you going to hand me over to them? He was quiet for a long moment, his gaze drifting to the window, watching Seoul's neon lights blur past. That depends. On what? He turned to face her, and something shifted in his expression. Not softer, not kinder, but different. Curious. On whether you're useful to me. The Mercedes stopped in front of a building that touched the clouds. Glass and steel and money. So much money that Ada could smell it in the polished marble floors and the orchids in crystal vases and the silence, the expensive silence of a place where chaos was never allowed to enter. 2 men in suits flanked the entrance, bowing as her captor walked through. This is your home? Ada asked, hating how small her voice sounded. This is one of my homes. The elevator required a key card and a fingerprint scan. It rose 30 floors without stopping. You never told me your name, Ada said. You know everything about me, but I don't even know what to call the man who kidnapped me. He glanced at her, and for half a second, something that might have been respect flickered in his eyes. Park Jae-won. The name meant nothing to her, but the way he said it, like the words themselves carried weight, made her understand. In this world, in his world, that name was everything. The elevator doors opened into a penthouse that looked like a museum. White walls, black furniture, a view of Seoul that stretched to eternity. Beautiful and sterile. Cold. You'll stay here. Jae-won removed his blood-stained jacket and handed it to a waiting staff member who appeared from nowhere. Someone will bring you clothes. Food. Whatever you need. I need to leave. I have classes. I have a job. Well, I had a job before you got my boss killed. Mr. Kim got himself killed. His gambling debts caught up with him. He was stealing for me to pay them. Tonight was the consequence. And what about my consequence? What happens to me? Jae-won walked toward the floor-to-ceiling windows, his silhouette sharp against the glittering city. I haven't decided yet. So I'm just supposed to wait here like a prisoner? Like a guest. Guests can leave. He turned, and the city lights caught his face at an angle that made him look almost human. Almost. Guests don't witness 4 murders in one night, Miss Okonkwo. Be grateful you're in my penthouse and not at the bottom of the Han River. My associates have been asking about you. They know you're in Seoul. They want the debt your uncle owes, and since he can't pay, they want the collateral. You. And what do you want? The question hung in the air between them. Jae-won studied her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. I want you to understand your position. You have no visa that will survive scrutiny. You have no money. You have no protection. The only thing standing between you and the men who want to sell you is me. So you'll stay here in comfort with everything you need. And in return, you'll do exactly as I say. When I figure out what that is, you'll be the first to know. He walked past her toward a hallway, and Ada grabbed his arm. The moment she touched him, everything stopped. He looked down at her hand on his sleeve, then up at her face, and something dangerous flashed in his eyes. Don't, he said quietly, touch me. Then don't walk away when I'm talking to you. You have a death wish. I have a life. One you've just turned upside down. You don't get to walk away like I'm nothing. Like I'm just a problem to be solved. Jae-won stepped closer. Close enough that she could smell the copper of dried blood and something underneath, something warm like cedar and smoke. You are a problem to be solved. His voice dropped low. But I haven't decided if you're worth the trouble of solving or if I should just let them take you and wash my hands of it. Then let me go. Right now. I'll take my chances. You'll be dead by morning. That's my choice to make. No. He leaned in, his mouth inches from her ear. It's not. Not anymore. Ada didn't sleep that night. She paced the guest room, a space bigger than her entire apartment in Itaewon, with silk sheets and a bathroom that had a tub large enough to swim in. She tried the door. Unlocked. Tried the elevator. Locked. Tried the windows. Sealed. A gilded cage. At 3 a.m, she found herself in the kitchen, raiding the refrigerator like she used to do as a child when nightmares kept her awake and her mother would make her warm milk with honey. Can't sleep. Ada spun around. Jae-won stood in the doorway, wearing a simple black t-shirt and gray sweatpants. Without the suit, without the blood, without the murder in his eyes, he looked almost normal. Almost human. No, she said. Being kidnapped doesn't exactly relax me. He walked past her and opened the refrigerator himself, pulling out a bottle of water. You should eat something. The staff left dinner for you. I'm not hungry. You're lying again. I can hear your stomach from here. Ada's face heated with embarrassment. He was right. She hadn't eaten since lunch, and even that had been just a small bowl of rice. Jae-won moved around the kitchen with surprising ease, pulling out containers and heating something on the stove. Within minutes, the smell of doenjang jjigae filled the air, rich and savory and perfect. He set a bowl in front of her. Eat. I don't take orders. It's not an order. It's a suggestion backed by the observation that you're about to pass out. Ada stared at him. Why are you being nice to me? I'm not being nice. I'm protecting my investment. What investment? I'm just a dishwasher you kidnapped. Jae-won sat across from her, his own glass of water in hand. You survived your uncle's betrayal. You escaped to a foreign country where you didn't speak the language. You built a life from nothing. You were ready to hit me with a skillet while bullets were flying around you. He paused. That's not just a dishwasher. That's someone with survival instincts. Someone with value. Value for what? He didn't answer. Eat your soup, he said instead. Tomorrow we'll talk. Ada ate the soup. It was the best thing she had tasted in months. Tomorrow came with sunlight streaming through windows and a dress laid out on the chair, something simple but expensive, in a shade of emerald green that reminded her of home. A woman named Mrs. Cha arrived to help her, an older Korean woman with kind eyes and efficient hands who did her hair in a simple updo and taught her how to do makeup that enhanced her dark skin beautifully. The boss wants you ready by noon, Mrs. Cha said. Ready for what? Mrs. Cha's expression flickered with something like pity. Ready for the meeting. The meeting was in a room on the 40th floor, a boardroom with a table that seated 20 and a view that made Ada feel like she was floating above the world. Jae-won was already there, back in his armor, a charcoal suit that probably cost more than a year of her tuition. Two men flanked him, hard-faced and silent. And across the table sat three men she had never seen before, their eyes lighting up when she walked in. "There she is," one of them said in accented English. "The runaway bride." Ada froze. Jaewon's voice cut through the room like a blade. "Sit down, Miss Okonkwo. Let me explain why you're here." She sat, her legs trembling beneath the table. "These gentlemen are the Yom brothers. They handle our international operations, including," he paused, "debt collection in Nigeria." "She belongs to us," the eldest brother said, a man with a scar running down his cheek. "Her uncle signed the contract. She's property. I'm not property." The words left Ada's mouth before she could stop them. The scarred brother laughed. 60 million won. That's what your uncle owes. Can you pay it? Can you pay it today, right now, in cash? No? Then you're property until the debt is paid. That's the law. Our law. Your law means nothing here. Jaewon's voice was soft, but somehow it silenced everything. "You're in my building. In my city. Whatever claims you think you have, you'll go through me. She's not worth a war, Park." "Maybe not." Jaewon looked at Ada, his expression unreadable. "But she is worth a negotiation. What do you want?" "I'm taking over her debt." Silence crashed through the room. Ada's breath caught in her throat. "You're doing what?" she whispered. Jaewon didn't look at her. His attention was fixed on the Yom brothers. "I'll pay the 60 million won. Right now. In exchange, you relinquish all claims to her. Permanently." The scarred brother's eyes narrowed. "Why? What's she to you? That's not your concern. Everything is our concern when you're buying a woman we've been tracking for nearly a year. Is she warming your bed? Is that it?" The great Park Jaewon, head of the Park family, falling for some African girl. Jaewon's jaw tightened. "Take the money or don't. But if you don't, you walk out of here with nothing, and I'll make sure you never do business in Korea again." The brothers exchanged glances. "Fine." The scarred one leaned back. 60 million. She's yours. But don't say we didn't warn you. Girls like her, they're more trouble than they're worth. After they left, Ada couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. "You bought me." Her voice was hollow. "You actually bought me. I bought your debt. What's the difference?" Jaewon finally looked at her, and for a moment, just a moment, something cracked in his armor. "The difference is that they would have sold you. To a brothel. To a factory. To whoever offered the highest price. I'm giving you a choice." "What choice?" "Stay here. Work for me. Pay off your debt on your own terms, at your own pace. No one touches you. No one hurts you. When it's paid, you leave. Free and clear." Ada's head spun. "Why? Why would you do that for me?" Jaewon was quiet for a long moment. "Because someone should have done it for my mother," he said finally. "And no one did." The silence that followed was deafening. Ada spent the next week learning her new reality. She was given a job, a real one, helping manage the legitimate side of Jaewon's business empire. Hotels, restaurants, real estate. All above board, all legal, all designed to wash the blood off the money that flowed through his family's hands. She was given a salary, a portion of which went toward her debt. At this rate, she calculated, she would be free in 3 years. She was given freedom within limits. She could leave the building, explore the city, even visit her old apartment to collect her things. But always with a bodyguard. Always with eyes watching. And she was given Jaewon. Not in the way the Yom brothers had implied. He never touched her, never crossed any line. But he was there. In the mornings when she came down for breakfast. In the evenings when work ended and she found herself reading in the living room. He would join her sometimes, sitting across the room with his own book or his laptop, saying nothing, just existing in the same space. It should have felt strange. It felt like safety. "Tell me about Nigeria," he said one night, 2 weeks into her captivity, her employment, whatever this was. Ada looked up from her book. "What do you want to know?" "Everything." So she told him. About Lagos, the chaos and the color, the way the city never slept and never let you rest. About her father, a professor who taught her to read before she could walk. About her mother, a nurse who worked double shifts and still found time to braid her daughter's hair every Sunday. About her uncle, her father's younger brother, who had seemed so kind after the funeral, who had promised to take care of them, who had stolen everything and then tried to sell what was left. I trusted him, Ada said, her voice breaking for the first time. He was family. He was all we had left. And he looked me in the eye and told me I was nothing but currency. Jaewon said nothing for a long moment. Then, quietly, my father said the same thing to me. When I was 15. When he told me I would marry whoever strengthened the family's position. When he sold my future for an alliance. Ada looked at him, really looked at him, and saw something she hadn't seen before. A boy who had become a monster because no one had given him another choice. What happened to the marriage? I refused. He beat me. I still refused. He locked me away for a month. I still refused. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Eventually, he realized that I would die before I let him control me. He respected that. He started training me instead. To be his successor. His weapon. And your mother? The smile vanished. She was payment for a debt too. She died when I was 8. She never stopped being afraid. Ada put down her book and crossed the room, sitting down beside him on the couch. Close enough that their shoulders almost touched. I'm sorry, she said. Don't be. It was a long time ago. Pain doesn't expire just because time passes. He looked at her, and something shifted in his eyes. That cold, calculating stare warmed, just for a second, into something real. No, he said softly. It doesn't. 1 month became 2. Ada's Korean improved rapidly, helped by Mrs. Cha's patient lessons and the immersion of working in an all-Korean office. She started to understand the rhythms of Jaewon's world, the careful dance of legitimate business and shadow empire. She also started to understand the man himself. He was ruthless, yes. She saw it in the way he handled rivals, the cold efficiency of his decisions. But he was also fair. He never hurt anyone who didn't deserve it. He protected his people with a ferocity that surprised her. And he was lonely. She saw it in the way he came home to an empty penthouse every night. In the way he had no friends, only subordinates and enemies. In the way he sometimes looked at her like she was the first person to see him as something other than a weapon. Come with me somewhere, he said one evening, appearing in her office doorway. Ada looked up from her spreadsheets. Where? Just come. She went. He took her to the roof, 50 floors up, where a small garden bloomed against all odds. Roses and hibiscus and something she didn't recognize, flowers that shouldn't survive Seoul's winters, but somehow did. My mother planted these, he said, before she died. The staff keeps them alive. I come here when I need to remember who I was before. Who were you before? Just a boy. A boy who liked comic books and video games and making his mother laugh. He looked at her in the moonlight. A boy who believed in love. And now? Now I'm the head of a crime family. Love is a weakness. An opening for enemies to exploit. That sounds lonely. It is. The honesty of it stunned her. What do you want, Jaewon? Really? If you could have anything. He turned to face her fully, and the moonlight caught the angles of his face, the softness in his eyes that he tried so hard to hide. Right now? I want you to say my name again. Jaewon. Again. Jaewon. He stepped closer. No one calls me that. Not my family. Not my staff. Not anyone. Just you. Why me? Because you're the only one who doesn't look at me and see a monster. Maybe because you're not. He laughed, soft and bitter. I've killed people, Ada. I've done things that would give you nightmares. I've had nightmares my whole life. They have my uncle's face. They have the faces of men who looked at me like merchandise. She reached up and touched his cheek, feeling him tense under her fingers. You've never looked at me like that. Not once. I wanted to. The first night. I wanted to see you as just another problem. But you didn't. No. His voice dropped to a whisper. I couldn't. He kissed her. It was soft at first, tentative, like he was waiting for her to pull away. When she didn't, when she leaned into him and grabbed his shirt and pulled him closer, something broke loose in him. His hands found her waist, her back, pulling her against him until no space remained between them. The kiss deepened, hungry and desperate, months of tension unraveling in seconds. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jaewon pressed his forehead to hers. This is dangerous, he whispered. Everything about this is dangerous. My enemies will use you against me. They'll target you. Then protect me. Always. The word came out like a vow. I will always protect you. Listen, if this story is hitting you in your feelings right now, drop a comment and let me know. Tell me what you think is going to happen next. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because we're only halfway through and things are about to get complicated. 3 months in, Ada woke up in Jaewon's bed for the first time. Not for anything physical. Not yet. Just sleeping, her head on his chest, his arms around her. The first time in years she had slept through the night without nightmares. Good morning, he murmured against her hair. Morning. How do you feel? Safe. The word surprised her. I feel safe. He tightened his arms around her. Good. That's all I want. For you to feel safe. But safety was an illusion in Jaewon's world. Ada discovered this when she arrived at the office to find chaos erupting. What's happening? She asked Mrs. Cha, who was rushing through the halls with a pale face. The Yeom brothers. They've broken the agreement. They've brought men from Nigeria. They're saying the debt was never valid because Park wasn't authorized to pay it on your behalf. They want you back. Ada's blood turned to ice. Where's Jaewon? In the boardroom. With them. She ran. The boardroom doors burst open, and Ada saw Jaewon standing at the head of the table, his body coiled with barely restrained violence. Across from him stood the Yeom brothers and 2 men she recognized from her worst memories. Men her uncle had sent. Ah, the scarred Yeom brother said, smiling. There she is. We were just discussing you. Get out. Jaewon's voice was death itself. We have documentation. The original contract. Your payment was made under false pretenses. You didn't know the full terms. What terms? One of the Nigerian men stepped forward, and Ada felt her legs go weak. The terms that she was promised to Emeka Okonkwo as a wife. Her uncle signed a marriage contract. Your payment means nothing. She's already spoken for. Ada couldn't breathe. Married. She had been sold into marriage without ever knowing. Is this true? Jaewon asked, his eyes finding hers. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. It doesn't matter if she knew. The Nigerian man, Emeka's representative, pulled out a document. The contract is binding. Legal in Nigeria. She belongs to the Okonkwo family. She's in Korea. Korean law applies. And Korean law says you have no claim to her either. No marriage. No legal relationship. She's just a woman you've been keeping in your home. That's not protection. That's kidnapping. The trap closed. Ada saw it clearly now. They had been playing a long game. Waiting. Watching. Building a case that would take Jaewon down while reclaiming their property. Her. You have 24 hours, the scarred Yeom brother said, his smile widening. Either hand her over willingly, or we go public. Headlines about the great Park Jaewon keeping an African woman prisoner in his penthouse. How do you think your business partners will react? Your government contacts? Your legitimate empire? Jaewon said nothing. But his eyes, when they found Ada's, were filled with something she had never seen before. Fear. Leave us, he said to the room. Jaewon, you can't just. I said leave us. The room emptied. Jaewon crossed to her in 3 steps and took her hands in his. I'm not going to let them take you. How? They're right. You have no legal claim to me. Nothing that would hold up in court. Then we create one. Ada's heart stopped. What are you saying? Marry me. The world tilted. Marry you? Jaewon, we've known each other for 3 months. I know. I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. But a marriage certificate is legal protection. It gives you Korean citizenship rights. It means they can't touch you without going to war with the entire Park family. Is that why you want to marry me? For legal protection. His grip on her hands tightened. No. Then why? He pulled her closer, his forehead pressing against hers. Because I wake up every morning thinking about you. Because I count the hours until I can see you again. Because for the first time in my life, I know what it means to want someone so badly it terrifies me. His voice cracked. Because I love you, Ada. I love you and I can't lose you. Not to them. Not to anyone. Tears spilled down her cheeks. You love me. More than I've ever loved anything. More than this empire. More than my own life. He pulled back to look at her. Marry me. Not because you have to. Because you want to. Because you feel what I feel. Ada looked at this man, this monster, this boy who had been broken and rebuilt himself into something unbreakable. This man who had bought her freedom and asked for nothing. Who had given her safety and respect and time. Who looked at her like she was the first sunrise he had ever seen. Yes, she whispered. Yes, yes, I'll marry you. Jaewon kissed her with a desperation that stole her breath. When they broke apart, he was already pulling out his phone. Mrs. Cha, prepare the rooftop. Tonight, we're having a wedding. The wedding was small and secret. Just Ada and Jaewon, Mrs. Cha, the household staff who had become like family, and an official who asked no questions and accepted a very large envelope. Ada wore a simple white dress that Mrs. Cha had produced from somewhere, her mother's gold earrings that she had carried from Nigeria, and a bouquet of flowers from the rooftop garden. Jaewon wore a black suit and an expression of wonder, like he couldn't believe this was actually happening. The vows were standard Korean legal language. But afterward, standing among his mother's flowers under a canopy of stars, Jaewon took both her hands and said his own. I spent my whole life building walls. To protect myself. To survive. But you walked through every single one like they weren't even there. You made me want to be more than what my father created. You made me want to be the man my mother would have been proud of. His voice trembled. I can't promise you a normal life. I can't promise you safety from everyone and everything. But I can promise that I will spend every day trying to be worthy of you. I will protect you with everything I have. And I will love you until my last breath. Ada was crying too hard to speak for a moment. When she found her voice, she said, I came to Korea running from a life I didn't choose. I thought freedom meant being alone. I thought safety meant trusting no one. But you showed me that some cages are actually homes, and some captors are actually protectors, and sometimes the most dangerous man in the room is also the safest place to be. She squeezed his hands. I choose you, Jaewon. Not because I have to. Because you're the first person who ever let me choose. And I choose this. Us. Whatever comes next. The kiss that sealed their marriage was soft and sweet and full of promise. The night that followed was everything. Not frantic or desperate, but slow, careful, tender. Jaewon touched her like she was precious, like he was memorizing every curve and line, like he wanted to spend forever learning the map of her body. When he lowered her onto the bed, his eyes found hers in the candlelight. We don't have to, he whispered. If you're not ready. If you want to wait. Ada pulled him down to her. I've waited my whole life for someone who would ask. He made love to her like a prayer, like a promise, like every touch was a vow he was writing on her skin. And when she finally cried out his name, it wasn't with fear or surrender. It was with joy. I love you, she breathed against his neck afterward. I love you too. My wife. Wife. The words settled into her bones, warm and right. For one perfect night, there was no debt, no danger, no enemies circling. Just them. Morning shattered the peace. Ada woke to shouting, to the sound of breaking glass, to Jaewon already on his feet, a gun in his hand. Stay here, he ordered. What's happening? The Yeom brothers. They didn't wait 24 hours. He was gone before she could respond. Ada threw on clothes and ignored his order, following the sounds of chaos through the penthouse. In the living room, she found war. Jaewon's men fought against intruders in black, the Yeom brothers' soldiers, here to take what they considered theirs. Furniture overturned, glass scattered everywhere, the smell of gunpowder thick in the air. And in the center of it all, Jaewon faced the scarred Yeom brother. She's married to me now, Jaewon said, his voice cutting through the chaos. The contract is void. There's nothing left to discuss. Married. The brother laughed. That paper won't protect her. We'll take her anyway. Kill you. Claim she was forced. Nullify the marriage. You can try. The fight that followed was brutal. Jaewon moved like water, like death, every punch and kick landing with devastating precision. But the Yeom brother was no amateur, and for every blow Jaewon landed, he took one in return. Blood splattered across the white marble floor. Ada looked around frantically, searching for something, anything she could use. Her eyes landed on the gun of a fallen soldier. She picked it up. She had never held a gun before. Never fired one. Never wanted to. But when the Yom brother's knife found Jaewon's shoulder, when he stumbled and fell, when the brother raised his blade for a killing blow, Ada fired. The shot went wide, shattering a window instead of hitting its target. But it was enough. The Yom brother spun toward her, and that moment of distraction was all Jaewon needed. He grabbed the brother's ankle, yanked him down, and in one brutal motion, snapped his neck. Silence crashed through the penthouse. The remaining intruders, seeing their leader dead, fled. Jaewon staggered to his feet, his shoulder bleeding heavily. Ada. He reached for her. Ada, are you hurt? She was shaking. The gun fell from her hands. No, I'm fine. But you. I'm fine. Just a scratch. That's not a scratch. That's a knife wound. He pulled her into his arms, blood soaking into her clothes. You shot at him. For me. I missed. You shot at him. You were willing to kill for me. I was willing to do anything to save you. He kissed her, hard and desperate, and when he pulled back, there were tears in his eyes. No one has ever fought for me before. No one. Then everyone before me was a fool. The aftermath was long and bloody. The Yom family declared war, but it was a war they couldn't win. Jaewon's retaliation was swift and merciless, dismantling their empire piece by piece until there was nothing left. The men from Nigeria disappeared back to where they came from, their claims worthless without the Yom's backing. Ada's uncle was found dead 2 months later, killed by debts of his own that he could never repay. And Ada and Jaewon stood in the ruins of his old world, building something new. 1 year after their wedding, Ada returned to Nigeria. Not as a runaway, not as a debtor, but as the wife of one of the most powerful men in Asia. She brought money for her mother's surgery, enough to ensure she would never struggle again. She brought connections that could help rebuild what her uncle had destroyed. And she brought Jaewon. Your mother is terrifying, he whispered as they sat in her childhood home, her mother interrogating him in rapid Igbo that he had spent months learning to understand. She's deciding if you're worthy of me. What's the verdict? Her mother looked at Jaewon with sharp eyes. Then she smiled. He'll do, she said in English. But you hurt my daughter, I don't care how many men you have. I will find you myself. Jaewon bowed his head respectfully. I would expect nothing less, Mama. Ada laughed, joy bubbling up from somewhere deep inside her. This was her life now. This impossible, improbable, beautiful life that she never could have imagined. That night, in the hotel room, Jaewon pulled her close. Thank you. For what? For giving me a family. For showing me what love looks like. For screaming my name. Ada laughed. When did I scream your name? He grinned, that rare, boyish grin that she had learned to live for. Every night for the past year. But if you need a reminder. He kissed her neck, and she shivered. I seem to have forgotten, she murmured. You might need to remind me. I won't stop, he whispered against her skin, echoing words from another lifetime, until you scream my name. And she did. Again and again. Not in fear. Not in surrender. In love. 2 years later, Ada stood in the rooftop garden, now overflowing with flowers from both Korea and Nigeria, watching Jaewon hold their daughter for the first time. She had her mother's eyes and her father's determination, already gripping his finger with surprising strength. She's perfect, Jaewon breathed. She's absolutely perfect. She has your stubbornness. She has your fire. He looked up at Ada with tears streaming down his face. I never thought I would have this. A wife. A child. A real family. You have it all. Ada sat beside him, leaning into his warmth. You have everything. No. He kissed her forehead. You're everything. The rest is just a gift I never deserved. The sun set over Seoul, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Ada looked at her husband, her daughter, this life she had built from the ashes of betrayal and pain. And she knew, with absolute certainty, that she was exactly where she was meant to be. Home. If this story touched your heart, if it made you feel something, then do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Share this video with someone who needs to believe in love. And drop a comment telling me your favorite part of Ada and Jaewon's journey. I read every single one, and I would love to know what moments stayed with you. Thank you for watching until the end. You're the reason I do this. And remember, your own love story is still being written. Don't give up on it.